Our next story is about Dr. Anthony Fauci, America's top medical advisor, a man both loved and hated in a way. Loved because of his no-nonsense approach to public health, and hated because of his flip-flops as the face of America's pandemic response. For his admirers, he is a hero. For his critics, he is a villain. And both sides have become active once again. And why is that? Because Anthony Fauci is set to hang his lab coat. Next month, he will retire from public service to start the next chapter of his life. The 81-year-old currently serves as the chief medical advisor to President Joe Biden and the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. In December, he will be leaving both the positions after advising over 7 presidents in a career spanning 4 decades. On Tuesday, he spoke about this in detail at his final White House briefing, a briefing that has now kicked a firestorm online. We'll tell you why in just a bit. First, let's listen to some of Dr. Anthony Fauci's remarks on his retirement.
I'll let other people judge the value or not of my accomplishments, but what I would like people to remember about what I've done is that every day for all of those years, I've given it everything that I have, and I've never left anything on the field. So I don't want to see anybody get infected. I don't want to see anybody hospitalized, and I don't want to see anybody die from COVID. Whether you're a far-right Republican or a far-left Democrat, it doesn't make any difference to me. The way you counter misinformation and disinformation is that to do whatever you can as often as you can to provide correct information.
And I want to repeat some remarks that stayed with me. I have never left anything on the field. The way you counter misinformation is by providing correct information. Now, those are impressive statements, but does Dr. Fauci actually practice what he preaches? And that is a question that his critics are asking. And here's why. As soon as Dr. Fauci concluded his monologue, a journalist tried asking him what he had done to personally probe the origins of the coronavirus. And soon enough, she was joined by other reporters who shouted out similar questions at Dr. Fauci. Fauci did not answer any of them. Instead, he let someone else do his job. Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary, she jumped in and interrupted the reporters, telling them that they were being disrespectful. You must watch this.
Dr. Fauci, only 13% of...
Hold on one second. We have a process here. I'm not calling out on people who yell. And you're being disrespectful to your colleagues, and you're being disrespectful to our guests. I will not call on you if you yell, and also you're taking time off the clock because Dr. Fauci has to leave in a couple of minutes. I'm done. I'm not getting into a back and forth with you. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Dr. Fauci,
but she's
only
asking
30.
a great question.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
She's asking a valid question. You ask your question, you should allow her to answer the question.
Jeremy,
She's asking a valid
it's Jeremy.
question, Dr. Fauci, on the origin of COVID-19.
It is not your turn. It is not your turn.
You can't on the same people. That's the thing. You can't read a press briefing. You need to call from people across the room. She has a valid question. She's asking about the origin of COVID-19.
I hear the question.
And Dr. Fauci is the best person to answer
I
that
hear
question.
your question, but we're not doing this the way you want it. This is a disrespectful. It is. I'm done. Simon, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done with you right now. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. You're taking time away from your colleagues. Go ahead.
Only 13% of it.
Well, you heard that. We are not doing this the way you want it. When was the last time you heard reporters being told this? Wasn't that exactly how the Trump White House would function? My point is simple. The Democrats who take pride in upholding freedom of speech are indulging in the same tactics that they once accused the Republicans of. Why couldn't they just let Dr. Fauci take those questions? It's not that he hasn't faced those questions earlier. Throughout the last 2 years, he has been grilled on the origins of COVID-19 from lawmakers to reporters to Fauci's fellow scientists, and that's time and again. They have all questioned him on his efforts to probe the origins of COVID-19. Answering them is his job as the face of America's COVID-19 response efforts. In any case, the issue is not dying down soon. Look at the headline on your screen. It's from August. This is when Republican lawmakers had vowed to make Dr. Fauci testify on the origins of the virus if they were to win a majority in the House of Representatives. And guess what? Not only have the Republicans secured a majority in the House, but they are looking to execute their vow. That is, investigating Dr. Fauci over COVID-19, making him answerable before a committee. It's not a question of if, but when. So whenever the probe begins, what can we expect from it? To answer that, we'll have to look at Dr. Fauci's track record on the COVID-19 origins. It is a sorry tale of U-turns and flip-flops. In May 2020, Dr. Fauci ruled out the lab leak theory. He said in an interview, and I'm quoting, "This could not have been artificially or deliberately manipulated. All signs indicate the virus evolved in nature and then jumped species." In March 2021, he again brushed aside the lab leak theory, calling the remarks of ex-CDC director on it an opinion. The former CDC director, Robert Redfield, remember, had said the virus originated from a lab. And this is what Dr. Fauci said in response. Obviously, there are a number of theories. Dr. Redfield was mentioning that he was giving an opinion as to a possibility. But again, there are other alternatives, others that most people hold by. And 2 months later, when 18 prominent American scientists published a letter and said that the natural spread and a lab accident were both viable explanations, Dr. Fauci took a U-turn and said this, I'm quoting, "I am not convinced COVID came about naturally. The US should continue to investigate what went on in China until we continue to find out, to the best of our ability, what happened." And then in June, Dr. Fauci again spelled out his dilemma and said that there could have been other origins of COVID-19. Let me quote once again, "The most likely origin is from an animal species to a human, but I keep an absolutely open mind, and there may be other origins. It could have been a lab leak." Now, here's the thing. Good science takes time. It took scientists months to come up with a vaccine, months more to realize that the virus could have been made in a lab. In an ideal world, Dr. Fauci could be forgiven for his flip-flop on the COVID-19 origins. But we don't live in an ideal world, especially not the Americans. They are living in a time of polarization, misinformation, fear of science, and vendetta politics. Dr. Anthony Fauci could be a victim of all four. I'm not saying this, surveys are. Back in 2021, a poll was conducted. It asked Americans what they thought about Fauci's remarks on COVID-19 origins, whether he has been truthful or whether he has misled the public. And this is what the survey showed. Nearly 61% of the voters said Dr. Fauci was truthful to the public concerning how the pandemic started. In contrast, 39% of the respondents said the country's leading infectious disease expert had misled the public. And around the same time, another poll was conducted. It asked Americans if they believe COVID-19 was created in a lab. And this is what the survey showed. Only 31% of Americans said they thought the virus had evolved from nature. But a whopping 60% believed that it was created at the Wuhan lab in China. What does that tell you? That yes, most Americans agree the virus could have been man-made, but they also disagree on whether Dr. Fauci was truthful about this. Blame his incoherent messaging, the polarized coverage of COVID-19, or just his differences with the Republican Party. There is no way Dr. Fauci is going to escape this debate anytime soon. He may be leaving his post, government service, but the lab leak theory is here to stay. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.